I believe that we're live on Facebook today. I'd like to welcome everybody to FreeSpirit's weekly Inspired by series. We have had a number of guests on our show, well, our broadcast every week since April, and we welcome you all back. I know that a lot of fellow sewing enthusiasts tune in every week, and we thank you for that. If you're new to us, I'd like to encourage you to go to FreeSpirit's website. We are at freespiritfabrics.com, and you can see all that is FreeSpirit's at that location. You can see all of our fabric collections. You can see what we have in shops. You can see what's coming into shops. You can see different programs that are coming up that we're offering, and you can also see all kinds of projects and patterns. So please, we encourage you to go to the FreeSpirit website. We are here this week with Valerie Wells. She is one of our FreeSpirit designers, and we're very, very excited to have her with us this week. She's going to talk to us about this gorgeous collection that I have hanging behind me. It's called Enchanted. And this collection delivers in May of 2021, and it consists of a total of 15 SKUs. And Valerie is going to bring us down her inspiration lane of how she got to create this beautiful collection. I'd like to, remind everybody that we're live right now, but we are going to be posting this to our Facebook page. This will also be posted to our Instagram page afterwards, and also to our YouTube channel. And Valerie will also be posting this same broadcast to her social media platforms. So I just want to remind everybody of that. As always, every week, we encourage you to send us hearts and thumbs up, especially when Val's showing us some really great things. We want to see your enthusiasm. So please send us a bunch of hearts or thumbs up. We love to see that. And we love to know where you're tuning in from, because we know that people tune in from all over the world. And we love to see that. It's very encouraging to us to know that there's so many out there sewing in so many different mediums. So very excited, like I already mentioned, to introduce Val. We have Lindsay Dryden, who is on behalf of FreeSpirit. She will be answering questions that are FreeSpirit related. And we also have Samantha on behalf of Stitchin Post, and she will be answering any questions that are related to Val, and any questions that she can answer through this. And we'll also take questions. I'll be looking on, and if you have any questions that we can answer live, we absolutely will answer those questions live. I don't want to interrupt Val too much, but I'm happy to ask some questions of her, as we have little breaks along the way. So I'd like to thank Val's husband, Ross, who's behind the camera, and we'll get to see a little bit of Ross in a little bit. And so without further ado, I'm going to change my camera from over to Val. And I'd also like to remind viewers that Val is a co-owner of Stitchin Post, which is in Sisters, Oregon. So hold on, Val. I'm just going to try and switch my camera right now. And I'm going to bring it over to you. And you're on. So welcome, Val. We're so thrilled to have you with us today. And I'm going to turn the spotlight videos over on you now. So take us away.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to be here. We're in my studio, and it is such a huge part of my life. And so is getting to share this inspiration with you. This collection means so much to me. As some of you know, I love Morocco. I've been traveling there for 6 years, and last November, my last trip was my 4th trip. And every time I go, I fall in love even more with the artisans and the art and the gardens, and the people. They're amazing. So once I do these trips, I usually come home bursting with ideas. Because when I travel with my camera and my sketchbook and my stitchings, and that's kind of how I gather inspiration. So when I come home, I have this wall behind me that I see right when I walk through my door every day into my studio. And it usually starts with a ton of photographs, little stitchings that I've done on my journeys, things that I've gathered, the treasures. And as I start gathering all this stuff, I start getting ideas. And then my design wall will morph as I get fabric samples. So what you're seeing here has kind of like, right now it's at a standstill because it has all of my designs in there, my fabric mixed with all my inspiration. And as I morph through this next year, we'll see how it changes and grows. So now, as you can see, this is full of lots of life and lots of color. And all of those things impact how I design. And when I'm a block printer at heart, and that is where I find my creative release when I just want to make something. And I usually print on fabric because then the next part of that step is to make that into something because we like to sew. So anyways, I take all of these inspirations and memories and I start carving blocks. So Ross is going to show you, I have a collection here of the blocks, a ton of blocks that I carved after my most recent trip. And I have no expectations of these. I'm just making. So some blocks make it into the fabric collection in the very end and some don't. But at this process, it's not about a fabric collection for me. It's about what I want to create. So as you can see, I have a ton of blocks. And then I give myself a day, usually in the studio. It's usually a Saturday because the kids don't get up early. And I will take a piece of fabric and just start printing with all those blocks. Again, no expectations and no demands on myself, just for the pure joy and satisfaction of taking these bits and pieces of my experience and putting it into something magical, right? So I love to indigo dye. And so I took a large indigo piece of fabric that I had dyed and started printing. And you can see I print in layers and different colors and such. And so as I do this, when it gets done, I start finding bits and pieces that I love. Like I love the way these two blocks play off each other. And so I start getting lots of ideas and create the next step for me, which is going to the computer and I scan in all my blocks and I start playing around. And that is such a cool thing for me because I can go from my piece of art and then create designs that I think will be amazing in fabric and in quilts and in stuff for your home. So that's kind of the sort of artistic journey of me getting from an adventure in Morocco to a fabric collection. So I want to,
Can I, sorry to interrupt. You're doing a great job. A couple of questions for you.
Sure.
The blocks that you carve, what material do you use to carve the blocks? Are they wood or?
Oh, yes, yes. So I carve with a couple different types of material. This one is called gumbon. It is a Japanese material and it's like a rubbery vinyl. So the reason I really love this material is that, as you can see in this, it holds some really tiny details. Yeah. So it's a little bit harder to carve than like some of this other material I use, which is like a little bit more rubbery, stampy sort of material. So it has a longevity. It's like some blocks I have had for 15 years and they're still good. And so that's sort of the material. I kind of am a creature of habit, so that's what I like to use. But I also have discovered is called Speedy Carve from Speedball. And it's a more of a squishy material, and it creates great designs and is easier to carve than this gum bond, and still holds quite nice detail. So that's another, I'm always experimenting. So those are the two materials that I use.
And then the fabric that you just showed us, did you say, was that a hand dye that you created?
Yeah.
So you hand dyed that, and then you take your blocks here that you've created. And so when you're creating those blocks, it's really a mirror image sometimes of what, you know, because like the writings, you're doing them in reverse clearly so that they're, so that's quite talented in and of itself, I have to say.
Yes, so this is, I love to indigo dye, and I dye for a purpose, right? I know I want to print on what I dye. And so I will do super dark, because I like the look of my printed material with a dark background, as opposed to like something super high contrast. A lot of indigo dyed fabrics are really high contrast, and it's harder to print on those. So I really dye a lot of my fabrics with a purpose, but then I also teach some indigo dyeing classes. So I am slightly obsessed with indigo dyeing, kind of like Morocco.
Right. Right. Well, that's great. I mean, it's beautiful, and we love that you're obsessed because you make some beautiful creations out of it.
Thank you.
I just lost who asked this question. I just lost who asked the person, and I apologize for that. But the question was, what do you carry in your travel stitching case?
Oh, I usually carry little bits. I will, before I leave, sometimes I block last time I went, before I left, I block printed a large piece of indigo with some, just some of my favorite sort of Moroccan inspired motifs. Cause like I said, I've been there 3 other times before that. And so I cut those all apart, and I was hosting a retreat there. And so all my retreat participants got some indigo dyed fabrics and some that were block printed so that we could add our stitchings on it. So I travel with little squares of indigo dyed and a little bit of block printed fabric. And then I like to print on silk. So, well, it's hard to see these, but these little guys here, oh, I can't take that one down. He only has 2. So I'll lay this down so Ross can get in. The 2 bright colors are silk that I block printed on, and then I take them as a little stack, and I play around with compositions and then just a wide variety of embroideries, threads. So I keep it super simple.
That's beautiful. So when you're working on that, you're not hooping that as you go, right? I mean, there's no room.
No.
To hoop, right? It's
no,
all...
I don't hoop. I don't hoop.
No.
I'm not very good with the hoop.
Yeah,
so
I'm just asking, but beautiful, very beautiful.
All right. Any other questions?
You have a very neat inspiration wall, Val. I can assure you mine would not look nearly as orderly.
Well, you know, like I said, it starts in one fashion, and then as things change, like as I find a focus within all my photographs and of where I want my fabric direction to go. So one of my focuses this time was this garden that I've had on my bucket list for like, I think since the first time I went there, and it's called the Anima Gardens, and it's just outside Marrakesh. And so I got to go this time, and it became my focus because it was something new, and also the gardens are full of so much color and art, and it just was inspiring, and I can't wait to get to go back. So which actually leads right into the fabric if you don't have any more questions.
No, not yet.
Okay, well, let me know. So I'm going to start with kind of the main print that really was inspired by those gardens. And as you can see, a lot of my blocks in here. One of the beautiful things about being able to use the computer as one of my tools for designing is that this star is actually this block. And I just shrank it down and it's repeated into a star.
Wow, look at that.
So it allows me to be, when I'm carving these blocks and I'm just creating without any limitations, I can just go, because I know I can always go back to that computer when I'm trying to make things fit together in a fashion that is more better for making quilts, right? A star this big, I mean, this guy would have been huge,
Right.
right?
Right.
Is not as conducive, right? So it allows me to really tweak and morph my original creations, because this would be a lot harder for me to carve this small
Right.
and get
Right.
this detail.
Right.
I mean, I'm pretty
cool.
good at it, but I'm not sure I'm
Yeah.
that good.
No, you're really good. You're very good. My
So as you know, I love indigo. So you'll see a lot of indigo within this collection. I also have this like daydream of like, wouldn't it be super cool to spend the night at that garden? So, so you'll see some of my sort of evening feelings. This is the next piece, which is a kind of a variation on this big one, but things are smaller and compact, and they really reminded me of, so I took a lot of my designs that were tile inspired and mosaic inspired, and they became the backgrounds of, you know, this colorful sort of pathways throughout the gardens.
So beautiful. Love all the depth of color you have in there, Val.
Thanks. And then this next one, you know, and I have this thing for birds. So you're going to see I have lots of birds on this. But this one really is, the colors are super intense because there's this reminiscent sort of vibe from all the colors that you see in the markets. And then Marrakesh is really well known for its gardens and green spaces. And they incorporate so much of their art into, you know, their environment that you can't help but be fascinated by the colors. And I love the hot pink. This is another sort of, I guess, theme print, you call it, more birds, of course, and some introduction of some text, which the text came from a very, very special place in my heart. When I host my retreats in Marrakesh, we always do them at a place called Peacock Pavilions, which is just outside of Marrakesh in a small village. And the couple who started Peacock Pavilions also started this program in 2013 called Project Soar. And Project Soar is an empowerment program for teenage girls in these small villages in Morocco. They've also expanded into Uganda by, I think it was last year, so, which is exciting. But what it does is it keeps these girls in school. It gives them, you know, protection for menstruation so that they can stay in school. A lot of these girls would, once they started their period, would not stay in school. They were married off really young. So this empowerment program brings these girls education, self-confidence, and then they come back and bring it to their community. So it's a really awesome thing. And so I've always gotten to be a part of doing a program for them. So this year, they have affirmations that they say before every session. And after being there, I decided to carve all their affirmations in English and Arabic. And so we did a little block printing workshop with these girls, and on all pieces of fabric. So these are the fabrics that the girls printed, and then we're going to sew them into a quilt, and I'll take it next time I go.
Yeah.
So when I got home, started thinking about my words of empowerment and what it means for me to set a good example for my teenage daughters. And so all of the words in here are their words of empowerment plus a mixture of mine. So it's called I am, because when they do their affirmations, they will say, in English and in Arabic, they will say, I am a leader. I am smart. I am capable, etc. So this one's super special to me because I think as women, we all should be empowered by our strengths and remind ourselves daily that I am beautiful and I'm smart, all that good stuff. So
Yeah, that's awesome, Val. Thank you for sharing that with us. I think that's really meaningful to a lot of people.
Yeah, and you know, especially in the world we're in right now, right? It's
Exactly.
kind of chaotic, and we have to remind ourselves and give ourselves, you know, those times of saying, ah, damn, I am good. And
right.
and you know, I am a good mom, and or whatever. So
right. Exactly.
yeah.
So, no, that's really very meaningful for the time. So that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting that it all came out last year, and I look at it now and I'm like, God, this is good timing for me.
It is.
Like, because it means so much to me, and I get an opportunity to really share something with all of you and hopefully empower you to, you know, find your own words.
I know.
Yeah. Carve your own blocks.
Right.
You have to do it reverse, but it's all right. It's pretty easy.
There's a skill for that.
There is. There is. So, okay, so moving along the collection here a little bit. Olive Branches, Peacock Pavilions is also a producing olive farm. It's a small one, but you always get fresh olive oil when you're there. It's really yummy. So, gotta had some olive branches. And then this is my lantern print, Val's version. That's the thing about this, is that I'm so inspired by all these things, and then I really just add my spice to it. Like, I can't draw like the way they do, but I can draw the way I do. So that's kind of where these sort of things have developed from. I was going to show you, this is the original block, right? So it's pretty big, and I put 4 of them together.
Oh, that's amazing. They look really lacy. I think that both those designs are so beautiful. I mean, you know, one design on the 2 different colorways, and I don't know if everyone can see it quite as well on the one that would be our left. Yeah, that one. But it's almost like a white on white. I mean, it's really, yeah, that's great. That's beautiful. Such a beautiful fabric.
It's like sand. So when we were there, we went out into the desert and rode camels. And so it's my sand. It's my interpretation of sand.
Well, it's a beautiful interpretation of sand.
Thank you. I love the tile work, and we always go to these great museums, and you see tile work everywhere. So this is my version of tile, and I have to say, this is one of my favorite blocks. I absolutely love this block. So here's the block, and what's so cool is when you think about it, the computer is what allowed me to go in and really emphasize these secondary and tertiary designs. And then I made it a little smaller.
Wow. Very beautiful. So I just want to remind everyone that's watching that, Val, you're getting all kinds of beautifuls and love it, and, you know, all kinds of wonderful comments about the collection. But I'd like to remind everybody that this is Val's collection that's coming. So we encourage you to reach out to your local quilt shop and ask them if they've ordered the collection yet, and tell them that you'd like it, because it's coming in May of 2021. So if you see something you like today, be sure to reach out to your local quilt shop and ask them if they're going to be ordering it in.
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, so there's 3 more pieces. They're kind of more go with pieces, but you kind of need something different and fun. These are just kind of just interesting sort of motify things that I kind of came out after just being there and noticing all the little details everywhere. And then this is my random version. This is the beaded zigzag. There's lots of beads, and you know, the rugs usually have all these really cool zigs. They have the most amazing rugs, right? So I was playing around with this idea of a beaded zigzag. And then of course I love dots. So this last little piece is the dots.
Very pretty. It's a very cohesive collection, Val. You did a very nice job.
Why, thank you.
Yeah, it
Thank
looks
you.
awesome.
Well, now, I mean, it's so fun. Like you get all this stuff and then, you make a lot of quilts, right? So
Right.
I have 5 new quilts to share with you. And then I have a ton of projects that are like in the works that I haven't gotten done. So I will post them as we get them done. So
That's
I'm going to walk over this way to another part of my studio. And this is when it's really good to have a super tall husband because he is my quilt hanger, holder, etc. But I'm going to start first with this quilt here, which is called Magic Carpet. And the design, it's a pre-existing pattern right now that I did after my first collection inspired by Morocco, which was called Flying Carpet. So I just reinterpreted it and put the new fabrics in it. And it uses the entire collection, which sometimes can be challenging. So especially because I have so many pieces in there that can be dominant. So this was a challenge, but I kind of loved it. And then I will show you some of the other quilts that, well, here comes my fat cat. Don't know if you can see him or not, but Oliver's gonna come help.
Great.
So this is, Ross is gonna come back here and hold.
Hey, Ross.
So my lovely husband, we won't talk too long so his arms don't get sore. This is also a pattern I already have called Rosalie. And it's really a fun pattern. It's one of my favorites. I did it years and years ago with my collection called Cocoon, if any of you remember that one. Because there's been a lot of collections because I've been designing for 22 years. So there's been a lot of collections out there. But these guys are put together in rows, right? So it allowed me to take these triangles out and create these stars in here. And this doesn't use the whole collection. I excluded the pinks and some of the other brighter ones, but I love how it turned out. Do you need a break?
It's really
he
beautiful.
Smiles as he comes down from the quilt.
So Val, what was the name of that one again?
That one's called Rosalie.
Rosalie, beautiful.
Mm-hmm. That's the name of the pattern. So both of these, this one back here and Rosalie, I will be, in the original pattern, I will be doing a little insert to explain how to make it just like that if you want to make it like that. So
exactly.
Pretty easy transitions, but I really like to use my existing patterns and reinvent them. Like for our business, it's really, really essential for us. So, and if they're a good pattern, you redo it.
Exactly. You recreate it.
Yeah. So this is my new pattern, which is called the Anima Gardens, named after the gardens. And I really wanted to split up the palette, and because I tried to put the entire collection into this design and it just was like, it was just too much. So I started thinking about, okay, so if I was able to spend the night there, it's like this would be the evening when the stars start coming out and all the colors are super intense. Mm-hmm. And then this one would be like first thing in the morning. Sometimes you have to make up stories with your stuff because it really helps you get into the mojo. So right. This uses a bunch, again, the orange is repeated. I love the orange. Mm-hmm. But it has such a different feel because of what other colors are in there. So yes. I kind of love how it worked.
I love seeing both of those, Val, the exact same pattern worked up 2 different ways and how completely different it looks, yet from the same collection. So you're right. I mean, one of them's like looking at the sky at night and this one would be in the morning. So I think that that's a great way to look at it. And, entirely different, but a whole different presentation, but the same pattern. It's amazing to see quilts like that.
Yeah. And, it's really just based off of light and dark. And, right. And it's pushing your light and darks depending on what palettes you choose and stuff like that. So this is just like one of those super easy to sew together quilts, right? but could be so much fun depending on what fabrics you pick.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. Really
so I'm kind of
beautiful.
stoked about that one.
Yes, very
And
nice.
then,
So those are new, right, Val? Those will be new.
yes, so
Okay.
the Anima Gardens quilt is a new pattern, which so that means right now I don't have it written up. I have all sorts of my notes and such. So our goal is that it'll be out this spring in print form and PDF.
Okay.
So hopefully early spring. I'm thinking Marchish if I
That's
can.
perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect timing.
yeah.
Yep.
So before, you know, before of course the fabric releases, but and if we're really lucky, we'll get out in February.
Hey, Ross is getting a couple of props here. He is a very good quilt holder.
Isn't he? I know. So if you follow our shop,
he's hiding now.
if you follow our shop newsletters at all, the Stitchin Post newsletters, I go out with my family and we take pictures of quilts out around Sisters because it's so beautiful here. And it's usually him and my two daughters that hold the quilts because they're the tallest. And then my son, who's 11, is the carrier of the quilts. So it's a family affair.
Yes, yes. That's a beautiful
So this last quilt is, excuse me, tickle. This last quilt is not my pattern. It is done by Hunter Design Studio, my good friend, Sam Hunter. And her pattern is called Big Star Braid Modern. So this is her pattern on Enchanted and and a kitty. And I absolutely love this quilt. Like,
that's gorgeous.
It just makes my heart so happy. It just embodies the collection and Morocco, and you know, Sam's someone who's super special to me. So it's like, it's really cool to have this quilt as part of my sharing of Enchanted.
Yes, it's gorgeous. And, you know, a lone star, you know, who doesn't love a lone star, right?
Right. And I love how she does it. She has this, I love these going through there.
I do too.
And,
yeah.
So good.
Creates another design within the design. So it's really beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
done.
So that one's super cool. Okay, baby. Thank you. So that's the 5 quilts. So I'm super excited. I got to share those with you. And then I actually have a sneak peek to share.
A sneak peek.
I know the cat wants to go outside, but he'll
Val, before you pull out your sneak peek,
yes.
I'm just trying to scan to see if there's any questions. A lot of comments, a lot of people, excellent job, Ross. I mean, Ross is getting big props here.
You know, that's why I don't bring him out very often, because he gets a lot of attention.
But more positive comments about the collection. Everyone loves the collection. So that's great too. So thank you for showing us all those quilts made up so early too, Val. That's awesome. So
yeah. And like I said, I have a ton of other projects like in the works. And we have an influencer tour starting, which I'm really excited about. And I have an idea for a quilt for that. I just haven't had a chance to start. So I'm really, it's really fun because, you know, as much as COVID sucks, we all know it does, and having market canceled sucks. I'm trying, like, I really have been trying to find this place of a silver lining, so to speak, and where can we take the fact that we can't travel and we can't see each other and we can't share our work in person and really find the good. And so I'm excited that I get to have some time to like keep showing your projects and keep sharing what I'm doing in the studio. And it's not just done after market, you know? So there's got to be some silver linings. So I'm kind of excited about getting to share everything with you guys as we move along through these winter months.
Yes, we're excited, and thank you for sharing all of your inspiration so early. That's what's fabulous about it. And so you'll be showing us additional projects like you've already mentioned, and going to be an influencer tour that will be coming up, I know, in the spring, where we'll be showing various artists that will be creating with your fabric line in the spring. So we encourage everybody to keep an eye out for that. And I want Val to show us something special here. What's in the box?
I know. Okay, so FreeSpirit sent this to me, and I kept it so that I could share with you guys. So, and luckily they were okay with that. If they weren't, I would have sent it back begrudgingly. But in January, I'm gonna have some Kantha cloth with some of my designs.
Ooh. Oh my gosh, Val, how gorgeous is that? So this is inspired off of your Enchanted fabric line, the one you just
Yeah, it also has a little bit the sunflowers from Murmur.
Yeah.
It has one of my pieces from Kismet, the collection that just came out. Yeah, so, and I'm so excited. I love
I am too. I am too. That is gorgeous. Can Ross?
Yeah, and there's
closer to
I
the
have
camera?
shoes. What's
Oh.
that?
Can Ross walk a little closer to the camera so we can see? Wow.
How's that?
That's perfect. Look at the stitching in that. That's amazing. So gorgeous Kantha cloth in indigo here with Val's different designs in it. That is gorgeous. So this
And
is
then I have one more here, and then there's two other ones that we don't have samples of yet. So this is the other one.
wow.
Again, a lot of, the sunflower from Murmur, that's from Kismet. And then the rest of the designs are, my bird is a bird that I did in my 40th collection called Marmalade Dreams. So yeah, so I am so excited because Kantha cloth is so versatile. It's so much fun to play with.
Well, there's so much to do with Kantha cloth. I mean, so many different things you could make. You could do home deck, you could do clothing, you could do quilts, you could just, buy a big piece of that and put it on your couch.
On your table, like
your
tablecloth, like instant tablecloth. Serge that baby up and you're done.
Exactly. I like it. Those are both gorgeous. Thank you for that sneak peek.
I know. I'm so excited.
I am too. I can't wait to see it in real life myself. You get to hold it and touch it. That's awesome.
I know. I have to send it back. I'm like, darn it.
I know. The things you could get creating with it, huh?
Right.
So I think you've brought us down a wonderful tour today, Val. Is there anything else that you were going to show us? I don't want to, cut you short.
No, I think that's it. I wish I had some more projects done, but.
Oh my gosh, no, you've shown us a ton. I just didn't want to, cut in here and make an assumption that you were done. So,
no.
So, well, thank you so much, Val. I'm going to actually change this so that we'll both be on. So hold on a second. I'm going to cancel the spotlight. So now that I'm talking, they're going to see me. And then when you're talking, they're going to see you. But I would like to thank you for coming on today and sharing your new collection, Enchanted. So this is Enchanted by Val Wells. And this will be in your local quilt shop in May of 2021. So as I mentioned earlier, it's a total of 15 SKUs, and Val, brought us down, her inspiration road of where all of her ideas came from, and then how she, goes through her process in creating the line, which is very labor intensive, Val. You've done a fantastic job, and it's great that you share that with us. And I'd just like to encourage everybody to reach out to your local quilt shop. Ask them if they're carrying this line, tell them that you want it. You saw all kinds of inspiration today with Val, and you want to get sewing, you need to reach out to Stitchin Post for all of those patterns. If you're going to be making those quilts that Val showed us. Val, is there anything else that you wanted to say to us? Oh, I think we have a question to ask.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so the question, so we're going to give away the fabric that's behind me is not, like I said, it's not shipping until May. So this week, there's only going to be one lucky winner. I wish we could offer more, but we don't want to upset anybody. And the lucky winner is going to get one fat quarter pack of all of this. But you have to answer the question. And the question is, what year did Val's first fabric line come out? So if you were actively listening today, Val told us. So you might have to watch again. So anything else, Val, that you'd like to say before we sign off for today?
Well, I want to thank you and everybody for coming, because honestly, it means so much to me to get to talk about things that I love, the block printing, Morocco, and then my fabric. You don't always get an opportunity to express where your fabric comes from, and it goes to shops, and then, it's just really cool, because I know for me, I love knowing the stories and connecting with people. And so it means a lot that everybody came and looked at all my stuff, like my husband, he's a keeper. And, if anybody ever wants to learn to block print, I do online classes through our shop. So I have a couple coming up in December. So I'm super excited about doing that. I love teaching block printing. I love seeing how people can expand their creativity and create all this cool stuff and really learn that they're artists, even though they don't believe it. So, if you want to come make your own fabric, you can come hang out with me and do block printing. And if not, you can sew with Enchanted.
Exactly. Well, that's a wonderful invitation, Val, to have everybody come and look up classes with you. And thank you for being with us today. We are very excited that you're here. Sharing your, like I already said, sharing your process. I mean, it's pretty amazing, because you're right. I think as quilters, we see, we go shopping, we see the fabrics, we're picking them for different reasons in our own creativity, but to understand where the design started is all the more special. So, it makes the project a little bit more meaningful to everybody. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today. And again, if everybody has any questions, Val, I'm really seeing a lot of answers that, this one lucky winner, I'm seeing some answers out here. So we'll see, Sarah will be picking the winner, and we'll be sending that off. But really, not seeing a lot of specific questions. A lot of people very excited about the Kantha cloth, and they love the collection. They love the blues. They love the inspiration and everything behind your collection. So thank you so much. And,
thank you.
And I want to remind everybody that this will be posted on FreeSpirit's Facebook page, our Instagram page, and also our YouTube. And Val will also be posting this on her social media platforms. Val, do you want to tell us where those are?
Yeah, well, if you want to keep track of what I'm working on in the studio out of Enchanted, Instagram is Valerie Wells, Facebook is Valerie Wells Designs, and then the Stitchin Post is my shop, and we, promote stuff there, sell stuff. We'll have the fabric up for pre-sale this spring. So all sorts of good stuff. We're going to be doing custom kits out of all of these quilts. So so you might just call us, and you want to make this quilt, we'll make you a kit. Right. Lots to look forward to. Yeah. All right, Val. Well, thank you so much. And we thank you everybody for joining in with us this week. We're so happy everybody comes in, and we like to bring something new to you every week. And we hope that you love how we're inspired. And Val was a fantastic example of how we get inspired. So thank you, Val. Thank you. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next week.